Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge C35 Total Madness episode 12. Now, be careful, there are snakes all around here, so we have to carefully swing into this week's episode. Now, this week's daily challenge is called Tanks a Lot, and this one started out with TJ in a tank running over all this junk in this middle of this field, which I have to ask first and foremost, how many tanks are we going to get this season? We had 2 in episode 1 last episode, and this week's episode had 1. I mean, if you're looking at the markup of tanks, that's a 400% markup from the past 10 plus seasons of the challenge to right now in this season alone. I mean, I would love to see the tank budget for this season, but on this daily challenge, it reminded me a lot of the one in War of the Worlds where it was called the Day of Reckoning, which was also a pun because they spelled reckoning with a W. Get it? Like wreck, like they were picking up a lot of just garbage things. That one was a little bit different as there were only people in pairs helping each other carry all this junk to their bin, and then they weighed the bin to see who had the heaviest bin. The top 3 duos got to be in their version of the tribunal that season. Now, this one was a little bit different as they had people carrying things in teams of 3 to their bins to see which bin would be the heaviest. However, instead of it just ending there, they decided to add a stage 2, which I thought the stage 2 was fine, I guess, but I also felt going into stage 2 that it would turn into a solo game. Once I saw everyone got their own sled, I thought it was the first 3 people to cross the finish line would make up the 3-person tribunal. However, that was not the case as it was the first team to fully get all 3 of their members across the finish line would make it into the tribunal and hold all the power, which makes sense, but I also felt that this was a bit confusing compared to last week's daily challenge as TJ made a huge deal about people working separately instead of helping each other out. So with this one, now it's a team effort, and it was a team effort throughout the whole thing. So to me, it was a little confusing thinking about past episode, but I really did enjoy this week's daily challenge. A lot of people were fighting as hard as they could. They were reaching deep to carry as heavy as stuff as they could, going back and forth 100 times in this field. I really enjoyed seeing everybody do their best and try to get that tribunal win. Now, this week's elimination was called Launch Button, where this was a reimagining of the not-so-bright elimination game that happened in Vendettas, but instead of a giant light bright board, they decided to have each guy rigged up to a harness and then have to swing back and forth like a pendulum to hit all buttons and light up their lights. Once you lit up all 20 of your lights, you were launched into the air and proclaimed the winner. You got your red skull, you get to stay in the game. Now, I thought it really worked out to Corey's advantage this episode with this elimination as he popped his ankle. He really messed it up during that daily challenge. He was still able to beast out as much as he could in that daily challenge, but we saw later in the episode that he had to stay home while everyone else went out to the bar and having to ice his ankle, which I'm not gonna lie, I think that's a great night in if you think about it. Once everybody is out of the house, I mean, why wouldn't you just stay back and kind of like have some privacy to yourself? I think that's a better night than say going out to a bar, but that's just in my opinion. But we saw he was really hurting, and I think if there was an elimination that was more physical or had to deal with running or running back and forth to do something, Corey would have been at a major disadvantage, but he lucked out with this elimination style and he did a great job swinging back and forth. I think I really enjoyed the elimination being as close as it was. The final score was 20-16. Both guys were doing their best and they gave it their all, and I have to give major props to Swaggy C for going down, saying that he really wanted to go into the elimination. At some points it didn't look as though in the edit that he was 100% sure or ready, it seemed, but he took the opportunity. He knew this was the ample opportunity to go down there and fight for his Red Skull, especially not knowing if this would be the last Red Skull on the guy's side. So he had a perfect connection in the tribunal. He had the numbers, he had the opportunity, and Corey was injured. So There was a lot of things pointing him in the direction to go into this elimination. It just did not work out for him this time around, but major props. He did fantastic in his rookie season. He got really, really far, and I'm sure we'll probably see him later on in the challenge for seasons to come. Now, at the end of this episode, we got another teaser for this season. Now, some people thought that this was a mid-season teaser, as we have 14 people left, and that is exactly half of the people that we started out with. But if you think about it, there's going to be 6 to 8 people going into this year's final. And if that's the case, and there's only 14 people left, then that means there's only 6 to 8 people that need to leave this game, and then we're going to be in final territory. So I almost think that this is a 2/3 teaser trailer, or what's to come later on in this season teaser. So with that being the case, I have some shots. I want to do a mini breakdown, not as extensive as I have in the past, but still doing a mini breakdown of some of the shots that we got from this teaser trailer from the end of this episode. So let me go get my laptop and I'll meet you guys back here. All right, here we go. Let's get into this breakdown, and we start off with this really dark daily challenge, and we can count the lights, and I counted the lights, and there are 13 like headlamps in this scene right here. So with that being the case, I feel as though that this could be the daily challenge or the nightly challenge. When there's 13 people left, there's not a whole lot going on that you can see. And then we have Casey and Bailey, and Casey is saying, you take everything so personally, so you can almost assume that she is talking to Bailey, since Bailey is in the scene with her. Then we have over here Bananas and Melissa, and Bananas is saying she's not your freaking friend. Then over on the next one, we have TJ laughing in the voiceover, and then we have Kyle, who we know is going to be in that car, not so fast rope elimination. And then we have the bottom half of who he might be going up against. It looks like it could be Josh's lower half. I don't know exactly who it could be, but that's who my guess would be, especially since Josh is the only other person besides Kyle who does not have a red skull at the moment. Then we have a shot here of Josh next to the purgatory buzzer and alarm going off, meaning that he possibly has a shot of going into an elimination to possibly getting a chance of getting a red skull. And then we have the voiceover of Josh saying, I'm gonna give it everything I got. Then we have a picture of Josh in the car, which we remember from the super trailer. If you remember from the super trailer, we have the car daily challenge where people are going to be sitting in the car, and then the other competitors are going to be standing on top of barrels, and what they're going to do is they're going to drive as fast as they can, then drift into these barrels like it's a bowling type of game. So we have Josh is going to definitely be in that daily challenge whenever it's going to be. Then we have Nelson, who's saying, I'm going to die in that final, bro. So he could be talking to, say, Corey, and he's just getting amped up and saying that he is going to put everything he has out there in that final, that he is not going to leave 1 ounce of energy left. He is going to either win or he's going to die trying. Kyle, what looks to be, he's watching a purgatory or an elimination game, and he's saying, this house is full of liars. I don't trust anyone. And then we get a glance in the middle of his voiceover to Anissa. I think this past week's episode set it up to where Kyle is like, hey, the next guy's day, you're going to vote me in, right? And Anissa was saying, hey, we'll have to wait and see kind of thing. So it could be him talking about Anissa and saying that she's going back on her word. We'll have to wait and see, but it looks as though that with the context clues, it could be going that way. Bailey is saying, don't speak to me like that. You won't disrespect me. Then later on in this teaser, towards the end, pretty much the ending of this teaser, we have Nany and Bailey kind of talking at each other. So we could be seeing a Nany and Casey versus Bailey situation. We're definitely going to be getting a hall brawl for sure. Then we have another elimination where they're going to be wearing bodysuits, and it looks as though that they're going to have to grab red skulls off of the person. Maybe the first one to pull a red skull will win a round. The best of 5 rounds will win. This kind of reminds me of the Dirty 30 challenge, where it was called striptease, where the people were blindfolded. I can't tell if these people are blindfolded, but the people were blindfolded, and then they had to feel around, and then once they got to the person, they had to rip a patch off of the person. If you ripped the patch off first, you would win that round. The best of 3 or 5 rounds would win that elimination. This could possibly be the same thing, and by the format of the face, the way the shape is, I believe that this is Melissa in this elimination. I can't tell who's she's going up against. So I missed a few of the voiceovers. Some of the voiceovers leading up to this is TJ saying, "This is the end, all of you have run out of time." Then we have Corey saying, "This is some BS." Then Melissa saying, "The pressure is on to go and get a red skull." And then TJ coming back in saying, "If you don't have a red skull, you are not making it to my final. And if you do have a red skull, you better not lose it." Ooh. Then we have a shot of this daily challenge of, if you remember from the super trailer, there is a red car in the middle of this parking lot, and it's like one of those phone app games where you have to move all the cars or all the blocks, and you have to get the one block out of the puzzle. So that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be in groups of like maybe five people each. Maybe this will be the daily challenge when there's only 10 people left, and they're going to have to push these cars out of the way to get the red car out of the puzzle. Here we go again with another shot of that drift bowling, and you can tell that there are what looks to be 10 people, and they're going to be drifting to knock over all the pins or all the people, all the competition. Then we have another one of TJ saying, "Be prepared to run the most brutal final we've ever had." 2 other voiceovers that I did not mention was, "I just want to keep my red skull and make it to a final." That's what Jenny says. So possibly Jenny will be seeing another elimination before the final. That could have been like the interview right before her going into the elimination, is just saying, "I want to just keep my red skull and make it to a final." Then we had Nelson saying, $1 million is on the line. Also, if you look in the background, it looks as though that this reminds me that long pole in the background, it looks like it could be the setup for the Hall Brawl. So maybe after the Hall Brawl elimination, that is the final elimination of the season. Then he's talking to everybody who's left, who are going to be going into the finals. He's telling them to be prepared because this is going to be the most brutal final that we've had in the challenge. And as we could tell from the super trailer and from this teaser, there's going to be snow, there's going to be mountains. It kind of reminds me of the final in Battle of the X's, where they're going to be traversing some really tough terrain. And then there's also going to be tough math happening. So snow and math does not create is not a lot of people's strong suit in the challenge, just to be honest. And then this is the shot from all the other teasers and trailers beforehand. As you can tell, there's 4 people in front, then there's 1 person in the middle, and then there's 4 people in the back. I can only imagine that this is 4 men and then 4 women, and then TJ's in the middle, and they're going to be going up to saying another starting point for this challenge. Possibly maybe it's going to be an overnight challenge, and they're going to the start, or they're going to the second stage start. And then this is the scene I was talking about earlier when I said that Nani is here talking to Bailey saying, "You're alone and you're freaking scared." And that's when Bailey just looks her dead in the face and says, "I'm not scared." But that's the end of this teaser. What was your favorite shot? What are you most looking forward to? Let me know that in the comment section below. But now let's go on to the comment section of the show. Now let's go over some comments from my Thursday's review and recap of this week's episode of The Challenge Total Madness, episode 12. And we're going to start off with Nerdy Alex 6's comment, who says, "Who agrees that Melissa did a good impression of Josh?" I'm not gonna lie, I was dying that whole time in that whole argument in the nomination ceremony. When she did the argument, got up on the table, Josh is doing the snake impression that I couldn't resist doing in the intro of my Thursday video. It was amazing. It was a great fight. I was laughing hysterically throughout this whole fight. Now, Melissa Farmer said, "Love TJ laughing at bananas rolling the barrels." Yeah, that was ridiculous strategy overall, was just saying, hey, we're running out of time, put all the stuff in the barrels and we're not gonna put the top on them. So we're gonna roll it with the tops off, and all the stuff is just falling out as they're trying to roll it. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought TJ was way off to the side, maybe in a producer's tent or somewhere off to the side, but he was just walking around the field and then just starting to laugh, and then said, "as smooth as sandpaper," which was An awesome line. Nisha C says, oh, and must say, this final looks like it's going to be intense from looking at the preview. Hope it's not disappointing. I wholeheartedly agree. Like I said in the breakdown of the teaser trailer at the end of this episode, TJ mentions that they have to prepare to go into this year's final, which is one of the most brutal finals out there. And I'm hoping it's not going to be disappointing. It's going to be a lot of snow. We look like it had math. It looks like it's going to be grueling, and I wouldn't expect any other way for this final. So I'm having high hopes for this final. And finally, Joseph Bradish says, Fessy is one of the best rookies I've ever seen on the challenge. I remember always pulling for him and Haley on Big Brother. I was surprised by Nany's ability in the daily challenge in this episode. Impressive. I wholeheartedly agree with both of those statements. I think Fessy is playing a fantastic game. We knew he was going to be a physical threat, but he is doing everything right. I think he's been on the cusp of winning into the tribunal this whole season, and I was happy to finally see him beast out this win and make it into the tribunal. I think he is one to look out for seasons to come. I think he's going to get that win sooner rather than later, and I do agree with you that Nany was really impressive. She gave it her all this episode, and she did not look like she was slowing down. She did not look like she was quitting at all, and I'm really impressed. We have to wait and see if she gets into an elimination and possibly get the opportunity to go and get her red skull. We have to wait and see. But what'd you think about this episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What'd you think about the elimination, the daily challenge? What'd you think about that? The teaser at the end of the episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. Is there something that I missed that you think I should have went over, or do you think that there was something in there that you're most looking forward to? Let me know that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more videos and more content. But until then, peace.